Thank you very much. A warm greetings to everyone that made it here today. Today we'll be talking about emerging technologies and the future of education. I have a question to ask you. What will education look like in the next 10 years? Educational systems around the world are actually evolving with emerging technologies, such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, virtual reality, Internet of Things, 5G, 6G technologies, and other forms of emerging technologies. The aim is to enable innovative, intriguing, and engaging teaching and learning processes. It discovers something that emerging technologies can be defined as the technologies that are currently developing or that are expected to be available within the next 5 to 10 years. I'll be picking on the different emerging technologies that we have and their effect on education. I'll talk about artificial intelligence, which has to do with the display of digital system, the use of digital system, to provide solutions to different problems of life. Big data analytics. When you talk about big data analytics, you discover this is one of the emerging technologies that's actually driving AI, in which you see the collection of large data sets and its use in the evaluation of teaching learning processes. We also have augmented reality, which is AR, and this has actually been used in different forms. We talk about the audiovisual mode of the AR, which is used to overlay the physical environment. Imagine yourself sitting in this particular auditorium and having a display around you and that looks so real and so exciting as a real world, putting virtual reality into the real world. Then we also have mixed reality, VR. We have extended reality also, which has to be the combination of AI, VR, MR, that's the mixed reality, and also extended reality. The next big technology which we're expecting is a metaverse. And metaverse will actually have a great effect on technology. The fact about these emerging technologies is that they have a way in which they connect each other. We talk about AR being used in ML. We talk about large data sets also being used for different operations in ML and AR. So we talk about this now. And I remember something that happened just recently, about 2 weeks ago. I carried out a survey on reimagining the future of education within the next 10 years. And during this survey, I examined learning engineers, learning technologists, learning scientists, and different top-notch EdTech practitioners all around the world. And these were few of the responses I was able to harvest from them. Emeritus Professor Janet Kolodner, that's from Boston University in the United States of America. She happened to be a top-notch American computer scientist. She said something after asking that question: can we reimagine the future of education in the next 10 years? She said, I think education will be what we make it. Well, how many of you believe this? That education will be what we make it. That means some set of persons can sit together and actually influence change on the educational landscape on a global platform from a local standpoint. Brantred said something. He said, answering Janet's version of the question, that he wants learning to be fun. This was a response of Brantred. He is also a top-notch learning technologist and also a professor. And the other response came from Nadadaba, a professor of and director of learning technologies. He said something here. He said, I don't want learning to be fun. Wow. If he doesn't want learning to be fun, he said, I don't want it to be fun. It takes work, seriousness, and hard work to learn. That was the response he pushed through. I want to ask you this question. If learning shouldn't be fun, how would you like to learn human anatomy? Will it be with a virtual reality gadget in which you have everything explained to you with a VR set, just like this, or with a board display? You see a virtual reality gadget explaining the inferior vena arteries, the abdominal cavity, and every other thing, to learners in this display. Then we have another one which has to be with a display board. Which one do you think would make learners get a better grasp of the concept in which they are meant to learn? The display board or the virtual reality gadget? I want to tell you this. Since VR is one of the emerging technologies in the field of education, definitely the future of education will be fun-filled and intriguing for learners. But I hope it won't be staggering and body stammering like this. Imagine a display that we have here. Someone using a VR, which is being displayed there. You discover something that they were so immersed in the virtual world that they couldn't even take note of what was happening around them. And you see what is actually happening to them. A old woman like this, so immersed in the VR world and enjoying herself until she falls. I hope education won't be like this. I actually believe it could be copped. Something happened recently on this campus, and that was about 2 weeks ago. We took a VR gadget and I'll put it on someone. And you could imagine that person, after a while, they put on the VR gadget. We displayed anatomy for him and the arrangement of the human body parts. And you imagine someone with a VR gadget pointing to a human that is a skeleton. So that's to tell you how immersed he was in what he was looking. The virtual reality world not matching up with what was in the environment. But if this has been infused into education, definitely it will make teaching learning processes interesting and intriguing to learners. You see a way in which we can bring all of these data sets into education. I want to talk about the next big thing we're expecting in education, which is the metaverse. We've had so many big tech companies investing a lot in the metaverse. I will start from Microsoft. Microsoft had gone ahead to discover different games, metaverse games, that while you are playing such games, you feel so immersed in it and you are enjoying yourself. And we also have Google, Facebook rather. Mark had actually done a lot. You look at a video he released recently, a few months ago, talking about the metaverse and his belief about the metaverse, in which he feels the metaverse would actually have a lot to do with the world. And that moved him to change the name of his organization, Facebook, to what now? Meta, because he believes in the metaverse and the effect it can have on the world at large. So I want to tell you, metaverse is one of the big technology we are also expecting in the future of education. Now, Bruce Coswell, who happened to be a futurist, with 86% of his prediction, which was correct and came to play, said something about a future with virtual reality gadgets. He predicted that by 2030s, VR will begin to feel 100% real. That's what we're expecting in the world of the metaverse, in which with putting on a wearable gadget or probably a spec, you can actually see yourself immersed in a virtual reality world and enjoying yourself. And you see something, we will be able to, he further stated that we'll be able to upload our mind and consciousness by the end of the decade. I want to tell you this. Artificial intelligence, that's another big thing in the world of emerging technologies, which is really influencing the educational landscape. This has potential to address some of the biggest challenges education is actually facing. COVID-19 showed the world that we aren't prepared for the future enough. AI is one of the things that educators and techpreneurs can actually leverage to solve the problem of the world, to innovate teaching practices, and ultimately to accelerate learning processes. I want to say this. China is actually leading the world with respect to AI, with their president declaring that he actually wants China to lead the world change with respect to artificial intelligence. And you see them embracing AI in their classroom settings. China had actually gone ahead to ensure that from kindergarten to university settings, digital cameras scan students. And this cameras does something. It detects them either when they are raising their hands or when they are chatting behind the teacher, and facial recognition robots are being used in taking attendance. You know, in this world, especially from a country, Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa, we have little or no school who had actually plumbed into using AI and emerging technologies to solve educational problems. But China is actually leading with this technology. And I discovered something also. In the whole of Africa, we only have Kenya leading the front in using technology to solve problems with respect to their education. Recently, they signed a bill in Kenya that they want all their pupils and students to go through coding education. But here we are. In our own country, we don't have anything related to that in our current curriculum. I hope something will come up with that. China uses Bluetooth wristband to record heart rate and how much time a student spends in the library or on the playground. You discover all of this, getting this large data sets. You will help them analyze the performances of students and to predict their future performances. So this makes education more individualized. I want to ask you, is AI in education a threat to teachers' job? Well, when you talk about AI will actually change the role of teachers. And according to UNESCO's report, 2020 report on the International Forum, UNESCO's International Forum's report on AI and the future of education, one of the key messages was that AI will change teachers' role. It will take over most knowledge-based processes, leaving teachers to tackle the aspect of social interaction with their students. AI. Since the human brain happened to be a mystery yet to be unraveled, I stand to tell you that AI and its effects on education would continue to be an uncovered domain. We want to talk about the potentials of artificial intelligence, the potentials of emerging technologies, the potentials of Internet of Things, MR, mixed reality, virtual reality, mention it, whichever emerging technologies that we have, the metaverse, its potential on the future of education. Number one, you will see effectiveness. The future of education with emerging technologies will bring effectiveness to teaching learning processes. And the future of education with emerging technologies will make education more mobile. That means a student doesn't need to sit in a four-wall classroom to learn again. You can be on the go and keep learning. Emerging technologies will also bring expanded access to education. Education will be much more accessible. It will only be to the minority rich, but it will be, but it will also be available to the majority poor. The disadvantaged will also have access to equal education. We see resource conservation. There won't be waste anymore because every resources will be well conserved, because it will be well managed with emerging technology. There will be uniqueness. There will be freshness in education. You won't be bored learning in the future of education. It won't look as if you are going to a classroom with a blackboard or a chalkboard or a whiteboard in front of you, or even a smart board that doesn't have 3D effect. Everything will come out live to learners and they will be able to enjoy it. Then you see growth beyond boundaries. These are part of the things we are expecting in the future of education. How then do we prepare for the future of education with emerging technologies? We have three stakeholders that must actually come together to influence the use of emerging technologies in education. I talk about the learners. We talk about educational administrators and instructors, the two of them combined. Then we'll talk about EdTech software developers. There's a need for us to have learners in preparing for the future of emerging technologies, the use of emerging technologies in education. There will be need for us to have learners who have developed skills like critical thinking, problem solving, and teamwork. That is very important. Then for the educational administrators and the instructors, there will be need for them to embrace technology and learn different technological skills for them to be able to glide through in the future of education with emerging technologies. And there will be need for collaboration. And to the third stakeholders, which happen to be very important stakeholders in driving change in the future of education, there will be need for the rise of EdTech software developers, those that can come up with mobile applications, that can come up with different solutions, that can bring solutions to the problems of education. So there will be the need of different EdTech software developers. There's a need for us to have a rise of such persons in the house. I see a future in education where schools will have humanoid robots, in which a student can walk up to the robot and ask questions like how to solve quadratic equation, and that robot will come up to tell the students the processes on how to solve quadratic equation and the different methods that could be applied in solving quadratic equation. It won't be a world in which we have teachers to be the hallmark of knowledge alone, but we have technologies being deployed to solve the problems of the world. I see a world where individuals, we have AI robots that are very, very powerful, and they can ask salient questions, just like the Alexa that you have. They can ask salient questions from the AI-powered robot. Ask about any education question, and that robot will answer them. There is the need for us to have such persons rise in this house. Learning at that particular point will now be learner-centered and individualized. If we will successfully use emerging technologies to drive change in the future of education in Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa, there must be the rise of patriotic EdTech policymakers. There must be the rise of patriotic learning analysts There must be the rise of patriotic learning technologies. There must be the rise of patriotic learning engineers and different EdTech developers. We talk about mobile developers, software developers, or web app developers that could influence the change on the global landscape. Who are ready to change the status quo from what it used to be to what it ought to be. Thank you.